Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Hey, I'm Noe here. Welcome to another webinar. Let me start sharing my screen. Like every Thursday, we have the opportunity to talk about Business Central. Interesting topics today will be migration. And once again, the idea for us is to have an overview of the activities to then be able to well, let's say that we have, in this case, an implementation, right? Because we are now working mostly on the cloud, And from our migrations or hyper upgrades is a new word that I have been hearing, around. Well, you might be having an ERP that is installed with a server, physical server, and then we are gonna be able to, let's say, connect to that SQL database. So just to mention it, and let me show you our Microsoft official site where we have a migrate to Business Central online, which is basically that in the cloud, right? And we are going to be able to migrate from GP and AB. There were some tools that were created. Don't worry about the idea that if you don't have GP or NAB or what is going to happen if you have customizations. In the end, Microsoft have basically developed some APIs, right, to be able to move data from GP, so to speak, or the previous NAV versions, right, for 2018 as well, just so to speak, from where we can actually connect directly to your database and just import data, right? So that's basically the in a nutshell what we want to know, right? In any case, whenever you have this requirement, we are going to be able to basically run a migration tool, connect to the database, and then map some of the tables from this tool. And then this just basically going to take data from your SQL database to migrate to NAB, right? So basically that would be the main topic. And if I want to then just basically migrate as well, we might need to understand that, for instance, we need to know, for instance, some GL account tables, right? So we as consultants, sorry for that, excuse me, it's just too cold here nowadays in Mexico. And well, basically, it's almost zero degrees centigrade here. And well, let's just imagine that. But well, I was speaking, yeah, there are some differences, yeah, there are some differences. For instance, if I speak about GP, right, you have your GL accounts, and it happens, and let me explain what is going to be the case here, that in Business Central as well, we just have a single chart of accounts. Many systems have them, right? But what happened here, because if I want to create then a chart of accounts, you have what we call and just as an example for one single system, right? GP has these segments that you can create, right? This will be like, well, having the definition of a single GL account, but then what happens if you suddenly have a department, let's say you're talking about expenses or sales, or another talking about income, okay? You will be creating one single GL account, but the second segment could be if you have multiple stores, okay? Then you have income from 1 to 3 stores. But as long as you continue opening that, well, opening more stores, you will need to create more GL accounts. Basically, that will be very easy, and the migration tool should be creating exactly the same in Business Central. But here, what we have as an explanation is the concept of dimension. This is coming from Microsoft. What they are telling us is that we don't actually work this way in Business Central. Every time we want to then, for instance, let's talk about the same deal. Okay, income product sales. Okay, you can see here that I have services, product sales, and products Mexico, right? But this is just an example that I was just mentioning because the idea is that if I want to then create or open more stores in Business Central, we don't necessarily, you can, but you don't have to create a second GL account whenever you want to open a new country, new store, new division, new whatever. We have another concept that works linked to the GL account, but we call it, taking from that Microsoft example, the dimension. And it happens that we have a second entity. Actually, you are learning the finance main components of Business Central right now. But let's say that, well, we have the component of the actual store number that you can create as a actual functional dimension, which is in the end, well, one way of actually busting into GL account, but include, let's say, in a general journal or in a sales invoice, well, as well, the store number. So that will be then like a logical entry that you post into your string. And then with the store dimension, I'm going to put it that way. Well, you can say from where your actual entry to that GL account, well, any amount is coming, any sales amount, right? Store 1, store 2, store 3. Just to mention that, well, we are changing from one system to the other, the actual functionality coming from the logic, how the system are actually working, right? And this is what these tools actually already know. But anyway, right, we would like just to mention that since we actually have two different logics, let's just talk about this. This is my sales account, and I have a lot of different amounts here, but all of them are coming from one different store. And this is what I'm speaking about, the dimension store code. Plus, I am having another dimension because I have different business units. One could be for stores that will be for hotels, and the other stores will be like normal stores, right? Well, the division code might be another logical criteria that means something, right? So this 350 coming from the division 1 is because this is dedicated for certain type of products, right? Or sector, but still is store number 1, right? So what happened here is that then the migration tool, we are going to need to specify, well, specific then a criteria to be able to import, because, well, there's a GP importing tool to the Business Central cloud environment, and then we would need to understand this type of aspects. Well, of course, we consultants are going to explain exactly that, right? And the idea is that, let me show you the migration tool. The migration. Here is the cloud migration tool is going to help us then to be able to connect directly to your database. Let me even just give you one example. Even though in this machine, sorry, I don't have a GP environment where I'm actually working, but let me show you how it actually, what it actually is. This will be more technical, right? I don't want to go immediately to that. The idea is that we just immediately connect to your SQL database. But the idea is that inside Business Central, this entity, this tool exists, Cloud Migration Setup, from where we can just immediately come and say, what is a product that you use? Okay, this is in this case another Business Central earlier version or Dynamics GP, as I was just speaking, right? And from where we just need to specify where to remember that this is on premises, okay? And from here, we could say, okay, this is my actual ERP, and here we have the string to have a connection to your database. But just not to mention, of course, the string has a, well, this actual example, this is the actual example of the string we are going to need, from where we don't only require, let's say, yeah, your instance, your database name, but as well the password, okay, and your username. With this, we are going to then have immediate connection if you allow us, or of course, in your SQL database, we would need your permissions. And then we would need then to be have a conversation with you about how you manage your data, like EL accounts, just to have this simple example. And then we are going to be able to then map your information. So this could be automated 100% for some entities, GL accounts, your items, your vendors, etc., etc., etc. Okay, let me open that. And then the process would allow us, because I don't have a current connection, but don't worry, just to have a review of this information, we are going to be able to, let me just run an example of what we would be seeing once we run, for instance, the actual tool. Oh, sorry for that. I'm just lost because I zoom out a little. Where is this? Ah, here. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And we're having some entries, right? From where we are going to be able to run a diagnosis tool to understand if some entries weren't actually let's say we take your data, right? We are replicating your information. That's it. That's it. But we would need a tool to tell us, okay, something was not actually transferred to our own database, if some tables failed, or with warnings as well. This would allow us to then, let's say, I don't know if you have stores, but this be more or less the idea of what you do with your stores. You have a POS in your store, that you have a local database, but you move it centrally, right, to your HO offices, and then you have all your data in one single head office, right, so to speak. So, well, actually, that would be more or less the same idea that we have. And if you have as well, just to mention, your instances in Azure, right, we are as well going to have the same logic, but we need as well to connect to Azure data. So the migration is going to allow us then just to move your different information, master data, into the actual Business Central. Now, of course, this is not going to be just automatic. We need to work a lot and just to move master data and some transactions, right? But don't worry, the tools are there just to make our life easier. And that will be then basically one of the hot topics that, well, some of the people have asked me, how could you help me to move these tools already exist just to make our life easier? And you don't have to actually just to think that, oh, this is super difficult now to upgrade nowadays. We can, let me just show you some examples of the data we can move, super important. Remember, we are going to control the technical part. So the process, GP to Business Central, okay, important. Receivable transactions, pay vendors, of course, apart from the actual just GL, customers, vendors, okay, and items, okay, we as well can do these transactions to move from GP, okay, and then you could enter your cash receipts are just as you normally do, continue working, and look at this, segments and dimensions, and then we are going to be able to move these entities to a Business Central, okay? And then, well, I don't have enough time to show you how we move each transaction, but don't worry. But the idea is to have an overview, okay? Then, of course, we move your classes and templates from GP to Business Central, exactly the same you are actually using, because I'm going to explain you in the after this explanation of what we do, for you to know, to have a map of the entries that entities we are going to be able to move. I'm going to explain you that in the second part of this webinar, that we have a rapid start implementation tool just to move master data, when we actually as well need to like verify field by field, column by column, we as well have that, okay? And then, well, all these run trial balance, aging reports, use posting accounts, okay? All of this can be immediately moved. So it's so similar GP in the way of we think. Don't worry, when you come to Business Central, you're going to see that, well, it's not difficult at all to work in Business Central. If you think that well, it's another system, another ERP. Well, you are gonna still able to see all of this. Imagine same classes and general journal templates, entries. So you then the logic is there. Don't worry, okay? But we would need to just talk about all of these specifics, what we do while we do then the migration project, okay? So, and it happens the same with NAV, and basically other system would require another connection, but we have connectors, just to tell you, to NAV on premises and GP on premises, and as well in Azure. If that's the case, that's not quite often because Azure is as well quite new, but of course it could be the case. Okay, and as well we could define, just in case, but some tables to define field by field. Okay, and for that we just have as well one migration tool that allows us just to say, okay, this is the table that I have in GP, this is the table that I have in Business Central, and we could create your mapping, okay? And for that, we could just, let's make a simple example just for you to have the idea. And this is for NAV and for GP as well, okay? Of course, yes, we need to do the mappings. And where is table mappings? Let me see if in this version. Okay. And by the way, I'm going to be now changing from these connectors that we already know that exist, but to show what the mapping could be like, let me just now jump into another tool that we have. This is the Rapid Start tool. Okay. What is that? We call it packages. It's just like that, to move packages for a create, let's say, an Excel that you can just fill in. Whenever we do a new implementation, let's say from scratch, or we would like to, well, have, how can we populate? Let me just speak about some examples. I have my bank accounts, a simple entity, or customers, or vendors. I have American Express. You might have this already. Bank of America. These are American or banks from the United States, right? And as well, they might have some transactions, checks, payments, invoices, and well, we have a balance. Okay, so here we have different tables that work behind this. Okay, here I have the worldwide bank with general information like the address, London, the zip code, okay, the bank branch number, right? But behind this I have other open transactions, right? That means something. And specifically, you would need to understand the reconciliation process. In this case, I don't want to go too deep. Not all the people here is working on the finance side, right? But let's say that we in every bank we operate and we move money, right? We do payments. Let's take a look at this, and we print checks. Sometimes some of you, right? That will be another table whenever you want to then move your checks that you have printed, and you have your historical data, and that you have delivered, let's say, to vendors, things like that. Okay, so what I'm saying is that yes, there are information that is connected. Okay, as an example, so if you want banks, we might need to talk about the open entries that you have. Let's just do another example to understand that the work that we do, that we can help you with. I'm sorry. That's it. It was just somebody calling. And then, okay, customers, vendors, items are the most common ones. Let's just take a look at what could be here good for us to work with. Let's just open items. Let me show you my items here. Very easy. Actually, the items is just the physical entity that you sell, okay, or services, or products that are actually non-inventory, right? Not specifically services, but you purchase paper for the office pens, and things that you don't even need to count or anything, right? It is not important to actually even have in the warehouse, but just give away, or if you, I purchase pens for the people in the office, right? It's just an expense, okay? But yeah, the different type of items, that's the idea. But if this would might be easy to understand. For accountants, people, for warehouse managers, okay, we might need an item card, yeah, an item number, a description, the unit of measure. Look at this, a beautiful picture that we have, right? And we explain you then, well, that we of course need this general information. Of course, every item has cost. Some of them even have price if you sell them as well. Good. And what would be easy to understand? An item category, okay? Because we need to classify for reports, okay? This might be completely different into your system, but we help you with, in this case of GP and NAV, then to map all your information to then these general fields. And that's the easy part, okay? But then what happened, because this is another system, even if I explain you, I have a super important field for me in Business Central that we call inventory posting group. If I see this, okay, it means nothing to you if you haven't actually worked in NAV, all right? Even a GP that is a Microsoft product, well, we don't have exactly the same. This is just basically, okay, a field that tells me which GL account to use whenever I, for instance, say, make an item adjustment, okay? I, of course, need a GL account behind this. Every transaction, a purchase would need an expense account, a cost account. Sales would need an income account, okay? And then my items, well, every time I move the items independently of the place, would need then some GL accounts then to record then the information, right? But well, all of these different fields, we call them posting details. Well, we would need you then to instruct you that we have information that we would need to move. But here, well, we have specific fields that we would need and we would like to map, okay, to map. And let me show you, because this is interesting. If you already have Business Central, please pay attention to this lesson, okay, to this second part. And I want to then move items. Give me 1 second. It's like having a connection to a issue with a server. Yeah, it's okay. Okay, and you want to learn how to import your own data, okay? Let's do it by ourselves for the first time. Let's just review what the configuration package is. So you already know that we have the connector. We would like to then show you how to import your own data from Excel to Business Central to understand how easy now it is. This is another simple example, but I would like then to look at this. Let's say open balances. Yes, we can import other journals from other systems, customers, fixed assets. Okay. If you like it, if you want to implement, we could do easily as well. We help you with that. But let's just talk about, fixed assets will be a good idea. What is happening here? Well, I will create a new package, okay, with this concept. I have a lot of different imported transactions, all of them that you can see here, okay, and I'm going to start from scratch. This is a package that helps me to improve information from Excel, okay, and let's just take a look at some of the fixed asset FA for webinar. And this information is just telling me the title. What am I going to be importing? And then it's just, well, some system information. This is BC 2023. Then I'm going to need, then, of course, the language that you use. This is super important because, for instance, in English, when we talk about amounts, let's say, we would then use specific format with commas, okay? But in Spanish, it's completely different. We use dots, okay? And then for the definition of that, we don't want to actually import data yet. That could be good, but because of the structure and the format of the data, it could be completely wrong in then your actual database. So if you are in the United States, well, you need to then come and look for the actual language that would be then help us with the format that you would be using. That is normal and natural to you, let's say. So it's just a language configuration, nothing else. Here is the important and interesting part is the table ID. Okay, for this, I will be opening this a table that I want to import for fixed assets, right? Let's just have a look for that. The idea is that in this case, I remember that I told you that we can establish connection to your database, okay, with GP and NAB. In this case, I also have connection in Azure with the actual database of this company, and then I will be opening my table ID, and this is the actual SQL tables that we have, okay? So it's good because we have, or this tool is interfaced to your SQL database, the real one that you have, that help us to create your actual company, because here, this is just the customer interface, right? This website, sorry, this link is actually opening, it's our client in Business Central. I'm opening this in Chrome, Chrome, okay? So we have a connection now to the SQL database that is in Azure, and then I would like to then look for my table, fixed asset. So from here, you might need to understand a little bit your own database, or you can speak with your administrator that, well, we are going to now have the option to create this Excel for you to now complete the information there, and then we import it. What happens here is that we just need to select the actual table, okay? And from here, once you do this part, look at how it has a number. All the databases have then the ID, okay? That is in Business Central, but you just by name can actually just find it. And here I have different fields for this database, okay? Let's just take a look. You can see this video just for you to create your own packages. Is not a problem. Just please call us because this might be interesting, okay? So here is the different fields that this fixed asset table has. That's super cool. And from here, you can then include all of them, or establish your own mapping criteria. Okay, so we don't have an issue if you as well have other fields with completely different names. Is not a problem. How then we start working with this? We're going to get all the list of the fields from this actual table, fixed assets, and then I will clear all of them. I don't even know what they mean, but well, some of them will be, of course, fixed asset number. Let's include it, and that's mandatory, okay? Plus the validation field, okay? This validation allows field by field to see if the format is correct or it has an issue, and it's gonna then give us then an actual message, right? Then I will be importing my description. I, of course, need this part. Search description, well, yeah, could be maybe you have for your computer a long name, technical name with the serial or brand and whatever, but your search description is just the noise computer, okay? Things like that. And yes, well, I would then instruct you because we would have a conversation together. If you want to import, just call me and I will explain you some important fields like the class code. What is that? Okay, I'm going to explain you. Actually, I'm going to open a fixed asset just right now. Okay, a fixed asset. Just to give you an actual real example, right? Because the actual webinar is for the importing tool. But well, if I want to open an import fixed assets, of course, I would like to understand some basics, right? Well, the description, the fixed asset number is here. We start with FA, right? Mercedes-Benz is the actual description. Very cool car. If you have this in your company, well, you are doing very well. Thank you very much. Let's just then import the fixed asset and forget about, right, everything else. Because, well, we have this beautiful picture that we can, of course, import. The search description is the plate name, so to speak. And look at this. FI class code is just tangible, in my case, intangible or financial, okay? This is defined by you, and this might be already your ERP. It's just that we call it FA class code, okay? But don't worry, that's the idea. For your master data, you have groups and you have connections to your GL. Basically, we know that, and those entities we understand in every implementation that is super important then to be understood, okay? Plus, what would be super good? Location code. Here in Business Central, you have the option to map your different physical locations where you might have your assets. Good. And then why not? If not, why not to start creating them? But we would then give you the idea that we would like to have the buildings, the office, the workshop where your fixed asset is, and then give us that data so we can import it and you can start using it because Business Central has it, okay? So that's why I'm mentioning that we might require some conversations for you to import while you are learning this part. But the actual tool, and sorry, of course, this is a class that is coming as well, let's say, exactly as GP works. We have a class that is vehicles, okay? But well, it's up to you how you want to create them. And as well, we have connection to different GL accounts because you might have an acquisition for vehicles, a GL account for depreciation for all of the different groups, okay? That would be the idea. And then once we, let's say, understand the basic about this specific entity, we are going to be able to then look for that information. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I want to include the FA class code and the subclass, okay? So I want to know if it's tangible and if it's going to be a computer or if it's going to be then whatever, right? Well, basically that will be the idea. And then I have others that might be optional. Here I have the serial, if it's blocked or no, because, well, if we blocked an item in any financial managerial system, okay, we are not going to be even depreciating the asset, right? So different fields, but let's just then show you what is behind this. I would like to include the location. Well, just that would be it. That would be if we post to group, vehicle license plate, just in case. And these fields are Mexican. Okay, but you can see basically that I'm just mapping my fields that I would like. And let's just go to the action. Let's just close this one. And here we have the actual export import from Excel. And this is a new package that I will be using. So I want to click first on export. So you can see the steps that I do, and then click on yes. So nothing else. Is actually quite fast. It's just that we need to learn, well, do some exercises, and of course, study what are the meaning of the fields. The thing here is that if Excel has an Excel file has been created. Let's just take a look. Enable editing. And look at this. Of course, here is my Mercedes-Benz now in Excel with the search description because, well, I don't, sometimes I need to find or for additional reports, I just want to see not all the description, but only the SL300 title and then the serial number. And here, this field or this column is related to the actual GL accounts that I've used to post all of the vehicles, okay? Behind the scene, I have, just to mention some configurations, yes, to connect whenever I create a fixed asset, all the GL accounts used for vehicles, okay? So don't worry, it's like a class in GP. So that's exactly what is going to happen if you're coming from GP as an example. What I would ask you, give me all this general information with the fixed asset number and give me the class. And before, of course, I would need to import the classes that you use in GP. And well, you use those entities, those classes structure for plenty of different purposes, right? So this is only for fixed assets as an example. So what is going to happen here is that if I want to create just another asset, let me just give you an example. I like these drag and tool options that we have because, well, in Excel you work faster, of course. I'm just going to drag and drop, well, just to make this faster. And then I'm going to create four different new assets, okay? And that exactly is what you will be then doing, okay? With some basic explanations, we just have a session, let's say, with you. Give me these fields that I will be requiring, administration, location, and then you would do exactly this job, or your users want you understand how to use this, okay? And basically, once you fill this information, you would need just to save your own file, wherever you want to save it into your computer, okay? So that's basically the idea, okay? Having a file that you basically save, but then actually, let me just import it now. What we just do here is that coming back to the actual package that I was just mentioning here, come back to Excel and let's just import this simple file, okay? Nothing complicated, just for us to understand the steps, okay? The actual definition of the table is the interesting part, actually. So here is, well, basically my file. And then I'm just going to click on open just to make the first exercise. And this is what is going to appear. Hey, do you want to import data from Excel? This will be then imported to our tables, blah, blah, blah. Yes, the idea is that it's going to be imported. But this is just mentioned here because we actually need to confirm that you are actually looking at the correct file that is going to be imported into one specific table that is in the cloud in Business Central. So we are doing what the actual connectors would be doing. Remember, we have a GP and an AV connector, and I'm just showing you what this connector would be doing, but it just happened that I'm doing it manually with this Excel configuration package. Okay, let's import it. Very nice. Just if you were asking, is this imported already to Business Central? Why nobody reviews this data? Okay, first of all, once we get into the actual information, Business Central or the package tells me already that we already have 27 fixed assets. Then every fixed asset has available 33 fields, okay? And because, well, I was mentioning that I'm creating more fixed assets from my Excel, this package that I'm creating, the actual package is the Excel file, okay? And here I have 31 records. So the previous records plus the new ones, okay? So you would then be able then to preview the information before it is imported, verify if there's an error. Okay, what could be an error? Let's say that, we need to be consistent. Let me just give you an explanation. All of this good is ready to import it, and you would need only to click on apply data. So let's just talk about a single record that is actually the Mercedes-Benz. We already know that is there. I'm not importing anything, okay? It's just that in order to actually import a new record, we just click on here, apply data, right? And then if it has an error, then it's gonna then show you then that exactly. So let me just click on apply data just to show you how then one of the fields now is telling me this is not valid. You have an error, invalid, yes, okay. And well, I'm doing this on purpose. My new laptop latitude that I want to import, we have a class, okay. The GP idea that more or less it's actually the same here in Business Central, but my class should exist, okay? You need, in order to import a class GP and create a new asset, you would need to provide a class, okay? For items, vendors, whatever, right? But what happens if I have an error? Equipments, and then I committed I included some specific characters accidentally, right? Just like this, okay? So it's not correct. The idea is that Business Central, of course, need to tell me immediately when I'm importing, you have an error. You have an error with this entry, okay? You are not going to be able to import it, but this is going to tell me, hey, look at this subclass, and you can not import this because it has 10 characters. And this is similar to what you currently have in GP. You can import data to GP, right? But here is like, for you as a user, more easier, okay? It's like friendly user, okay? It's exactly the same. So I'm just showing you so you can get familiar with the actual functionality and how it looks. So we have a package with entries, and all of it is telling me if I have issues like this exact class with these characters doesn't exist, or you have more information that they allowed. Let's say this was telling me that I can only use this with 10 characters. But the idea is that immediately give me the error. per row, okay? Or show error as well. You can click on this one. Let me just refresh. Good. Or click on show error, like in this case. Behind the scene, I have an error. Oh, sorry. For this record, Mercedes-Benz that I want to import, give me the error. Let's click on this message immediately. Hey, and it's telling me, hey, you might not enter a manual numbers for your fixed asset. And this is because, well, we configure that in Business Central. We can create the fixed asset number, but I'm not going to allow it. Okay, in this specific, we have plenty of different validations, basically, well, to understand if your data is correct, number of characters, special characters where they are not allowed, for number of your fixed asset, super important if you are going to allow, well, a person to create that manually or no, or the system must give you a fixed asset number when you create that one, okay? So no, I was not allowed to import it. So I'm going to now work this was just some errors that I want to just give you. And here I have my 4 new assets that I imported from Excel. And once again, just for the exercise, let's just import it. I'm going to click on apply data. So basically that is just tell me, let me see my error here, is related to that. Let me just surpass that for a second. Fixed asset setup. Here's a simple configuration. Don't worry about what I'm doing at this point. Okay. It's just that I would need to stop one validation that I have here for fixed asset to be created. Okay. And come back. This will allow me to then import them. Because I want to define my own assets with my own numbers, okay? This could be, you know, a laptop or demo laptop, something like that. You define it, okay, in the fixed asset number. But, well, the idea is that you can do so. You can allow, right, Business Central to help you then to import any number, okay? I don't know if you manually input your vendors numbers, customer numbers, item numbers manually with any type of sequence number. Well, that's interesting to have because the idea is that they are sequenced, okay? But if you don't use it, well, you can actually still import. It's not a problem. But, well, just fixed asset is important. Let me just go once again to the fixed asset list only. And then now you get the idea of what we are doing here, okay? So that's it. I have imported my last new records. I have more assets now with this Excel package, okay? And that's it. So you have seen how I create one. Still, some other information could be added, of course, like the picture, other entries like the, well, what was the acquisition cost, blah, blah, blah. But in order to import all of that, you will need first to have the actual master data. Okay, and that's exactly what we would be doing normally. But, well, here, if I come back to my package, still there are other things that might be interesting for you to understand. Whenever we create a new package, well, let's see where's fixed asset. Whenever we create a new a package like this one, we could include more tables, okay? Don't worry about it. I would, talking about fixed assets, right? I would need to open my acquisition cost, depreciation, or open balances, whatever, or as well insurance, because we manage here in this ERP the insurance and maintenance for your fixed assets, just to mention that. Okay, let me show you insurance, others, insurance types, and well, different entries or different tables, okay, that are related to this actual functionality, okay? But the idea here is that, well, in this case, I would like to continue adding more tables, okay? But what happened, just to mention it, if I would like to then understand if they have a relationship, okay? What is then the application of every insurance, what for a different fixed assets, okay? So Business Central validate that for you. If the tables have a relation, okay, they create the actual, in your package, the actual relationship, okay? The actual relationship should be created because if I have insurance, it should belong to one of the assets, or maybe to, I'm assuring, or I have an insurance for multiple assets at the same time, okay? So they are, once again, just for you to understand, relationships. Another example, let me just give us, let's just create another example. I would like to create an import items. That's another one that is popular. Let me just come and import and create my new package very fast for items. But the thing is that whenever I import the data, let me look for my table once again for you to see a second exercise. I just need to look for the table. Look at this. An item is my table number 27, but items as well have translation in different languages, which is in another table, and pictures in another table. So look at all of the relationships that I have, well, with my actual items. So the idea is that, yes, Business Central should be just basically helping me with the actual relationships, okay? Let's just give you, look at this. You have two or more related tables that you need to import, okay? So exactly this is what we need to do, either if we do it manually or with the connectors, with that GP and AB, or however you want to work, or however you need, okay? Yes, please include in this package because I want to start importing items for the first time. So don't worry if you really don't understand the SQL database. But, well, in this case, we might need to use this unit of measure code, okay, for put away. And this is mandatory, actually, to include it. And, of course, every time you import a new table, we can map it. We are going to see this in a moment. But continuing to import, okay? Apart from that, okay, you can see that I just have one single row for item 27, okay? But still behind the scene, whenever you import or export your Excel file, it's going to include those other fields that are coming from other tables. Super important to mention, don't worry about it, right? So Business Central help us a lot if we need to be, if we are going to be importing data with the logic as the actual database works. And currently, once we select that, and Business Central helps me to bring data that is linked to other tables, well, currently, this is telling me you have 153 records. And every item, now that you have included the linked fields, you might be dealing with 145 fields, okay? Just for items, this is one of the largest tables, actually maybe the largest in here. So you can see then this information in advance. Let's just click on this one, just to see all the fields that I was explaining, okay? And look at the relationship I was speaking about. Business Central, I know that every item, of course, has a base unit of measure, okay? So whenever I import it, I as well have another table that is called unit of measures by itself. So we have a relationship of two tables here. So let me just give you an example. Your item has a unit of measure, but then you need to have that table inside the system, unit of measure. So we tell Business Central what a unit of measure you use in your company. In my case, well, I have some cases, bottle, boxes, can, and your company is completely different than mine, okay? So we just basically say, yes, we have relationship within tables, and I cannot just basically come and import items with unit of measure that doesn't exist in my company, okay? So if we are going to be importing items, then we need to understand that we are going to need to put in the item unit of measure the same data that is here, okay? So kilograms is kg, kilometers is km, and pound is lv. And well, we don't want to then mess around with this basic data, because when we are taking care of the data, trash in, trash out. And if you're thinking about coming for the first time to Business Central, this is the very the best time to then to start cleaning your own data. You get me why? So start cleaning your vendors, items, whatever it happens, right? That you have then in your database, so we can then just reduce and optimize the information to be the best information we can get into Business Central. Now, database data as well help us to connect once again, and we need to know where we are connecting, okay, to which database we are connecting. In this case, here is my information coming from my database, just for you to validate if you want to see your original items. Maybe you want to verify if you have imported previously one of the items. Hey, I don't know if I have imported solar wafers. Okay, you can still take a look at the original information from your database. I don't know if I have imported I don't know what it is, fruits and hardware, but is there, okay? Have you imported the pineapples already? Well, I have the here, let's say, what have you imported with the word strawberry or what else? I saw some of the data. Okay. So hey, we have an issue here. We have apple muffin, which happens to be in Spanish, muffin de fresa. So I imported twice the same items, but with different descriptions because, well, was in Spanish and the other was in English, okay? So what happened with this, we need to pay attention. We can verify sometimes, well, whenever we are importing new items, because we help you the first time, right, through the implementation with the 10,000 items. And we ask you once again to please clean the data just because of this type of errors, because, well, we don't have, still want to, well, have heritage from other systems that with mistakes now that we do the implementation, right? But whenever we do an import, just the latest items, okay, we still can check the actual database name. Now, what happens if you want to filter information? Okay, let's talk about importing items or export items, but you have 30,000 items, and that's the actual case. So sometimes I would need them to maybe import by categories. Yeah, that would be a plausible idea. Okay, then you would like to use filters. I just saw that there are some categories related to bread or things like that. Or let's just import items from one vendor. Let's take a look at the website, okay? And let's just, import items from one vendor catalog because, well, once the master data is created, 20,000, 30,000 items, things like that. But in this very moment, if I export and if I do the same exercise with Excel to create my previous Excel file like I did, it's going to take a while. I don't want to do that. I want to import new items from the vendor catalog that I saw from that great website with the new offering from those new items from any given vendor. So what I want to do is filter now my entries with vendor number, okay? And which vendor, well, would be, well, it's up to you. Let me just take a look. Any given vendor, but what I want to do is to get only the items and to import items, okay, from one single vendor, not the entire universe of items. That would be the idea of the filter, just to give you another type of normal example so you can see what we can do here, right? And then, well, I have some vendors starting with 10,000, 20,000. Okay. Let me just filter for any of them. That would be then, let's say, 10,000 vendor. Okay. So then we can, and we have the possibility now to filters. Just give me the items from this specific vendor only when we export my Excel, because I then going to be saving a lot of time and work specifically under one specific circumstance. Okay. In this case, for items related to one vendor. Once we do that, then we are going to be just basically able to export my data, okay? But I don't want all the items, just filter to the actual items, filter the items that these specific vendors provides me, okay? And that will be basically the idea of the filters. I don't want to then overcomplicate with thousands of exercises. Yeah, just a few of them. Okay, the 9 items I got here is a simple example. When this provide me like hardware. Yeah, okay. Yes, good, because in this what I was worried is that in this database I saw fruits, I saw hardware, I saw, well, items that are not related. This is just a demo environment. Okay, just for you to see this. But yeah, this vendor is only related to hardware. So from here, okay, as well, we tell you, and even we help you to design, because your vendors from your website give you specific layouts. Okay, so from there, I don't want all the 100 and something fields that the item here. Look at this 145 fields. Well, Business Central manages, but your vendor doesn't actually need that. You can purchase and then download a file from the vendor website, and they give you just a few of the fields. Okay, so coming back to the actual package design, yeah, the idea in this case just to repeat it, and so you don't forget it. And if you want, you can make me question. Don't worry. Come and redesign with the now that we know the purpose. Okay, this will be only for specific vendor items. If then some of the fields are that this vendor file, they just include specific fields. Well, come here and select only the fields that you desire, because once again, you can design your own package with a table, in this case products, and with the items field that you will be using. So in this case, I would get rid of statistics, commissions, what other, profit, maybe, yeah, maybe your vendor gives you the profit of the item, but maybe I don't want it. I want to change it because I purchased from you, but I need another profit, and I will decide later my unit price. Okay, so yeah, give me the unit price as a reference to import it to Business Central, but later I will be changing it. Okay, so you can get rid a lot, standard cost, last direct cost. Well, design your own package. Okay, that would be the idea with specific fields, filter by vendor. You have now all these tools, right? And let me see. Oh, I don't like it. Let's clear all of them. Once again, this tool. If not, I would like them to start mapping. Okay, mapping. What would be the old value? What is the name of this field in GP, in your legacy system? I don't know. This could be products. I don't know. Just an example, right? Products, and the new value would be, of course, for the item, like that. But I would be mapping field by field by field. Okay. I wouldn't like to do plenty of examples here because I'm not even connecting to any given ERP. So it will be nonsense, okay? But the idea is, here I have the actual name of the field of your legacy system that you, from where we are migrating. And then, well, basically, even we could just have that exact name in our Excel file. Okay, so the user, you are the manager here, let's say the master, the administrator, you are going to be then providing and creating this, and will help with us if you want some assistance. Of course, we help you not only with the webinar, but with real training dedicated to your real necessities. So this is just like a general review of what tools we have. Okay, but this will be necessarily, of course, with your own information. Nothing else to say, just a few items with my actual design, and this could be then using a map with the actual names that you use in your database, not my Business Central names. What is this? What's the inventory posting group? I don't know. Please call Noe, but I want then a plausible Excel file with the titles and with the names that are functional for me. So let's just start mapping there. That would be then the scenario for me. Let me just delete this one. Otherwise, because I don't have an actual real connection within a system, it will be failing. But we can then just basically map field by field, okay, coming from your data in GP or NAV or another fields that you, however you manage your item fields, and will have a connection field by field with actual name. Okay, in Business Central, so we can link them and then we work easily like that. And here you're going to be able to see if some of your fields already where you have assigned a mapping. Okay, here you're going to be able to see that information. If your column that you will be creating is already mapped to your actual previous name properly or not. Okay, that would be more or less the scenario. So that will be basically the main explanation here for how then we can import data. That will be another scenario, sorry. So if you have questions, okay, please let me know. This was just the first webinar of the years will be dedicated to specifically like explore, okay? I'm not running into additional technical exercises. We have them. We have webinars where we actually do reports, technical connections. How do we do this and that, right? So for now, we will be learning like, I believe like next week, we are going to be understanding how we work in Business Central. How then we, let's say, use the system to do some financials, so navigate. And in order to look at the following webinars, once again, the first ones will be for new users or new people in January, right? That want to see these approaches that we have in Business Central, what tools they offer, how can you help me? Here in Optimus.guru, if you go to events, now you're going to be able to see the different webinars that we offer, okay? So we have, in this case, in every Thursday, you can search for my webinars, right? Next webinar will be Business Central Work Like a Pro. I designed this once again, remember, new content for new users to as an introduction. In this case, we are going to be learning shortcuts, how to update data with Excel, now with exercises, but sometimes we need to use mathematical expressions and we might need to filter, sort data, what is all of this, okay? But whenever you are, let's say, using Business Central for the first time, it's super important, yeah, to use shortcut with your keyboard, to let's open the customers, how to filter data, or in your GL transaction. Business Central is super dynamic, okay? So we have, let's say, new filters. We can filter by, let's say, country or contact name, and filter immediately your table. Another example of what we will be learning, you have your chart of accounts. But here in Business Central, this is for accountants. We have a full well, chart of accounts with the net change in this case, or balance basically. But if I want to look inside this universe, one specific transaction, one invoice only, if I want to see only my P&L, not everything here, we do so in one single window, okay? We search and we look for information in Business Central very dynamically. And this is something, a good idea. If you are coming from GP, strongly recommend you to see the next webinar to see what will be the dynamics whenever we work now here. If you're coming from GP or NAB, the dynamics of work were now we're designed to be more friendly user here in Business Central. So I will show you how to then actually use it, and you are gonna love it, believe me. But in one single chart of accounts, I can create thousands of reports just by making filters and look dynamically, look for a, I don't know, give me the balance, or give me the account type for income or balance sheet, or an account category, and so forth. Okay, just giving you ideas. And the other ones are just simple shortcuts, because we can, like in Excel, Control C, Control V, copy paste, things like that, right? So just increase the dynamics of your actual work as a user now in Business Central. But for now, well, this is everything for our webinar today. Just thank you very much. If you have questions, if you actually are looking for having these connectors or work manually for you to be able to import, give me then a call, send me an email, okay? Let me just give you my email in this chat. I'm there. Wellman@optimus.group. Okay, so with this, we have finished this informational but interesting webinar. Okay, In the following ones, then we're going to continue to explore until we get to the point that we just do exercises of different modules. Okay, so please, if you have then I understood then the idea of the webinars. Then we have then the different topics, and if you want, okay, because this is actually how I do my webinars. Just for January, I will be proposing, and I'm proposing the introductory navigation and see for the first time Business Central webinars, okay? But in the future, until, well, the end of the year, what I do for every webinar that you see is that, well, I actually have the different webinars with the topics that you want to see, all right? So don't worry about specific issues that you might be facing. I can rearrange and see in your calendars. Send me an email of what you want to do. Sometimes you want to implement new functionality, you don't know how to start, what to do, so don't worry. And if I don't have time to present a webinar, well, at least just giving you some insights, giving you some light, we can have some of the reviews together, don't worry. But the webinars is just basically to continue and show the Business Central functions, and we start, well, like all together having then this type of communication, okay? So thank you very much for this time that you have provided me. Hopefully you have a great day, and then I see you next week. Okay, I'm hoping the best for you, and then also as well for me on this cold weather. So thank you guys. Have a nice day. Thank you for coming, and then see you next week.
Thank you very much, Noe, for your explanation and your time.